Thank you. Let us welcome our senior minister, Reverend David.
Thank you, Barbara. Reverend Barbara. Good morning and welcome. Happy Easter. Take a breath. That noon energy. I love that. What was that again? The Ukraine greeting? Yeah, that one. I'm not even going to try it. I'm not even going to try it. But it's beautiful. Christ is risen. Christ is risen within us. And that's the truth each and every moment of each and every day if we pay attention to it. But today is that day that we especially honor it. I love this day because it's the confluence, it's the coming together of actually 4 different holidays. And this is really hot, Roger. It's the honoring of 4 different holidays that are all kind of coming together. We got a new microphone, so we're kind of working the bugs out right now, so bear with us. First of all, we are in the middle of Passover. And Passover is the celebration of the Israelites beginning the journey of leaving Egypt, leaving the sense of bondage. Now, notice it is not the arrival in the Promised Land, it's just the beginning steps. And you'll find this theme runs through all of the holidays we celebrate today. Secondly, we have Easter. Not the Jesus one. The one that is Estra or Ishtar or all the earth holidays, the earth cultures that have worshipped Esther, and she is the goddess of fertility. That's where we get bunnies and eggs and chicks and all that fertility symbol. We celebrate the new growth and the new flowers. That's the real Easter. Ishtar is the reason for the season in this case. Yes, that was a joke. Thirdly, then, of course, we have on the Christian calendar Resurrection Sunday. And in that one, Jesus is the reason for that season, okay? And then finally, even this evening, the Baha'i faith begins what's called Ridvan, which is the celebration of the 12 days of Baha'u'llah in beginning his journey into his prophecy, into his full ministry. The theme that runs through all of these is new shoots, new beginnings, just the start. We've already planted the seeds, and now we have these first starts that are beginning to show up. And in our culture, I find that we tend to not honor first starts. We tend to be so focused on the end, where we want to go, the target, we forget to honor the first starts. You know, we say that we want a new relationship, and we get a date. And maybe the date doesn't turn out so well or whatever, but we don't honor the fact that we got a date. Hey, it's the first date I've had in 5 years. You know, it's like something has shifted in consciousness. You know, we pray for more money, we find a penny, and we tend to go, oh, it's just a penny. No, it was just a date. You know, oh, it was just. But what it really was the universe beginning to start the flow. And if we honor it and if we pay attention to it, what that does is it feeds the flow. So this is not the full-born flowers. This is not the harvest that that Easter, you know, will come in the following of Easter, after Easter. It is not the full rising in consciousness into ascension oneness, which Jesus has. It's the first steps into the new body, the non-mortal body. It's the first steps into that. It's the first steps into the prophecy for Baha'u'llah. So we are looking at first steps today. We have a wonderful ritual, of course, for the second service where we're going to honor that. But I want to take a look at 2 of these stories specifically in a little bit more depth. The first one is the Passover story. And Passover is that honoring, commemorating of the beginnings of the flight. But let's go back a little bit. The Israelites are in bondage in Egypt, right? How did they get there? They brought themselves there. If we remember at the end of Genesis, Joseph was second in command of all of Egypt. He was administering the food. Israel and the whole land was going through a famine that he had prevented. His brothers and father all came there. So here's basically the origins of the 12 tribes of Israel already in place in Egypt. And everything is happy. If you were going to have music to close out the end of Genesis, you'd have this happy, upbeat, lovely music going like that. And then the next chapter, Exodus, begins with, after a while, a new Pharaoh arose. And if you were going to have music for that, you'd start to sit there and hear the little, the Darth Vader theme from Star Wars. You know, dun, 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 dun. You know, things change. Things change. And often it's the bondage we have placed ourselves in. That wonderful relationship that looked so good when we first got into it turns out to be a bondage thing. That wonderful new job that looked so great when we got into it turns out to be later on a bondage thing. That nice house was perfect for the two of us when we moved into a little cute 2-bedroom cottage. It was just perfect. By the time we were having our third baby, it becomes a bondage thing, right? And so stuff changes. That wonderful brand new car is now, kind of getting old and decrepit and needing work, and we got to replace it. So stuff changes. We change. Our life changes. So stuff changed for the Israelites, and they found themselves in a condition of bondage, a condition of not wanting to be where they were anymore. And Pharaoh conscious, what I want to say about this story, this is a soul story. Okay, this is not a factual story. Don't go looking for the armor of the Egyptian soldiers at the bottom of the Red Sea, because it ain't there. I'd like to say that no Egyptians were harmed in the making of this story. Okay? It's not factual. It's a story. It's a soul story. It's a teaching story. And so the Pharaoh consciousness, the Pharaoh represents that consciousness that holds us in place, that holds us in the old way of being. We're trying to break free. We're trying to move into something new. And here's this old consciousness that keeps dragging us back. And so we start to do something about it. We start to create some affirmations. We start to create some visualizations. We start to try and take that consciousness down. And that's each of the plagues, each of the pestilences, and all that stuff that this angry God, supposedly, in the Bible, throws at this Pharaoh consciousness. Boom, boom, boom. Now recognize that in the Hebrew Bible, the people don't have the consciousness to discuss love and law as principle. Okay? They're just not there. If we were to be time machined back, I can't remember if I told you guys this before or not, but if we were to be time machined back to that culture, and they have an earthquake, and they sit there running around going, oh, we mispleased God, what do we have to do for a sacrifice? And we sit there and show up and say, no, you don't have to do sacrifices. Wait, time out. What it really is the earth is a sphere, and it has this molten core of lava at the center of it. And as it comes out to the surface, it cools down and it forms plates, and these tectonic plates will override each other, and that's what's causing the earthquake. The people would figure out very quickly who the sacrifice should be for the god, right? Okay? So they don't have the consciousness to do love, law, principle, and like that. So God gets personified. Therapists today, I love it, have a way of saying that we have kind of 4 basic emotions: glad, sad, mad, or scared, right? And in the Old Testament of the Bible, God is either glad or mad, and the people are either glad or sad and scared. Yes? Okay. Ernest Holmes tells us that the law, the infinite universe, is for our freedom. It's for our freedom. And so it then appears as in opposition to anything that keeps us in bondage. Our life is constantly trying to rise up and free us. I have a friend of mine who says the universe is against who you are not. It is not against who you are, it is against who you are not. And so in the personification mode, that looks like an angry God. The law can be harsh sometimes, right? If you step off of the 20th story of a building, the law of gravity does not care how good and sweet and wonderful a person you are. It's just going to have the same result no matter what, right? And so sometimes it can seem harsh. And so sometimes this is how this God appears in there. So the Israelites, and under the direction of Moses is that high consciousness that connects them to the infinite one, okay? It's the leading consciousness. We all have that high wisdom self within us, our own inner guide, if you will. We have that. And if we're wise, we listen to it. Moses is that consciousness that's trying to pull them out of the old consciousness. Eventually they get to the point where they have to kill off the place where the consciousness keeps on recycling and regenerating and being born again. If you can think of it in the metaphor of a tree, oftentimes when we first start working on the consciousness, we first start working on the leaves at the top of the tree, right? And we keep trying to trim them down. What we find out is the leaves do what? They grow back. They keep growing back. So we go to the twigs. We take down the twigs, and the twigs do what? Grow back. And so we go to the branches, and the branches do what? They grow back. Finally, we take down the whole trunk of the tree, and what happens? We get a nursing stump. New tree grows out of it. So eventually, we finally say, we got to take that sucker out by the roots. All of it. That's the firstborn children of the Egyptians. The firstborn children are where the old consciousness gets passed on to the new consciousness. It keeps regenerating, it keeps reforming, it keeps being reborn and running and running and running and running again in our lives until we finally say, you know what? I'm killing that consciousness off. And that's what the Passover meal is for. And the people are standing at the ready. The people are eating the meal standing at the ready. When we finally say, I am ready for my good in my life, when we finally say, I'm ready for what I want in my life, you'd better be ready. You better mean it. You know, do I want a new relationship? Do I have room in my closet for a person to hang their clothes? Do I have time in my calendar for a person to show up in my life? If I want a new job, have I got the training for it? Have I done what I need to do to move myself into it? When they first started approaching me, when Reverend Andrea first started even talking to me about this church, the first thing I did was realize I had to raise my consciousness. I went out and I got a new mentoring minister and entered a mentoring ministerial program to expand my ability to be a minister. The first time after I talked here, I knew it was the right place. I went home and started packing. They hadn't even bothered to offer me anything. Okay? That's what the Israelites are doing when they are standing at the ready. You are ready in consciousness to go. This is a teaching lesson. This whole story is a teaching lesson. How to work with this, how to work with this. So when you know you've got the old consciousness and you're taking it to the ground and you're absolutely committed, you are at the ready, ready to go. Out the door. And so they do. The firstborn children, suppose they all get killed. They are out the door. They're running across the plain. Everything is good until what? They hit an immovable object, an impassable passage called the Red Sea. We hit those in our lives, don't we? We think we've moved into our new consciousness. We hit that, and suddenly we hit that impassable passage. And then what comes roaring up behind us? The old consciousness. You really weren't good enough. You are just a worthless piece of dirt. You know, all that stuff, trying to take us back into captivity. The old consciousness will not get us through the immovable object. And so we turn to that Moses consciousness within us, that high consciousness within us, which then turns to the infinite and says, I need an exit. I need a solution. That was a Matrix reference, sorry. Beam me up, Scotty. You got that one, okay. We go for a higher consciousness because we can't resolve what is standing in front of us at the old level of consciousness. We have to turn to that greater power within us. And whenever we step into a greater consciousness, whenever we step into our greater good, whenever we start to say, I want something that is so magnificent and so beyond what I can imagine now, and we all have that in our hearts. You hear it calling. That's that Christ consciousness that's rising. We have to turn to the infinite. We have to turn, it demands that we have to turn to a higher vibration, a higher energy. And then the seas part. And we walk through. And the old consciousness gets drowned, and we're on the other side. And it no longer has a hold over us, and we can't go back. Okay? I ain't through. So that's the Passover story. And it goes on from there. Again, remember, this is not the landing in the promised land. I mean, there's more stuff that goes on. I want to move to the resurrection story because the resurrection story has a lot of parallels in the Passover story and related to the Passover story. So here's Yeshua Bar Joseph, the rabbi, Jesus that we know him as today. Jesus. There's a shift in consciousness because the Bible is a story about the growth of our soul and the growth of our consciousness. The children of Israel are known as the children of Israel for a reason. At that point, they are children in consciousness. They need a Moses, they need a leader, they need somebody to guide them. By the time we move to the Jesus consciousness, Jesus chooses to go through what he has to go through. He is not being dragged kicking and screaming like the Israelites were, like the children of Israel were. So he finally realizes that this is the passage that he has to make. This passage to prove, to step past the bondage of, notice the bondage again, the bondage of the myth of death. to say that we are free of this mortal body. We are more than this mortal body. It is what that reading was this morning, that Ernest Holmes talks about, that we are going to awaken to that which is really the truth of us, and he is modeling that behavior. He has constantly been saying, follow my way, do it the way that I do it. And so he finally arrives in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he's faced with the process of having to do it for himself. Now, if you've ever been a person who's given advice, Damien and I were joking the other day, there was a wonderful passage going, take my advice, I'm not using it. There's a song that a friend of mine wrote about that, and he's going to write another song about it. So, but if you've ever given advice, you know it's so easy to tell another person how to do something. But when you have to do it yourself, it's a whole different ballgame, isn't it? Right? So Jesus has gone around and he's supported people. He's talked about this for his whole ministry, right? He's talked about there is a life immortal, that God is not a God of the dead, God is a God of the living and sees everything as alive. That in 3 days, I'll destroy the temple and raise it up again. He's talked about this. He's brought Lazarus back from the dead. He's done it all except to walk through the path himself. And so he finds himself in the Garden of Gethsemane, kneeling down, sweating blood. Because this is right in front of him, and he finally gets the enormity of what he's going to go through. His disciples have done what? They've fallen asleep or betrayed him, one of the two. The disciples are symbolic. Again, this is a soul story. Don't go looking for where this actually happened. This is a soul story. The disciples are, once again, our normal way of doing things. The way the podium mic. Hi. Oh. And then, let's see, nope, I guess I'm going to be standing still instead of walking around. Where was I? How it works. The disciples are our normal way of doing things, our normal patterns of things. How we normally do things. When we get to that edge, when we're going to take that leap in consciousness, once again, the old ways don't work. They either betray us or they fall asleep. They just do not work. Some of you have experienced this, yes? The old processes don't work. And so the disciples are asleep, and he's on his own, which we always have to do. Ultimately, no matter how many friends we have, no matter how many classes we've taken, no matter how much we've done, we have to make that journey by ourselves. As a friend of mine said one time, you can't get muscles watching me lift weights. Okay? You have to do the journey yourself. And so this is where Jesus is. He has to do the journey himself. And he's sitting there going, let this cup be taken from me. It's like, is there another way around this? Can we find a solution? Can we find another way? And he finally surrenders and he says, but not my will, but thine be done. Now I want to talk about that passage because it's gotten a really, really, really bad rap. Because most of us think that what he's surrendering into is the suffering and the death. I grew up Catholic. We would do on Good Friday the Stations of the Cross. And we would go from place to place of how Jesus, had this suffering, and then he fell here, and then they did this to him here, and this glorification of the suffering and the death of Jesus. And the will that he is surrendering into when he's saying, not my will, but thine be done, isn't the suffering and the death. It's the resurrection. My will is the ego will that is based in mortality, that is based on the belief in separation. And he's saying, not that will, not my fear, but thy will, that which sees everything as alive, be done. That's what he's surrendering into. Yes, there's this process. Yes, there's this dark night of the soul. Yes, there's this stuff we go through. But it's irrelevant and immaterial compared to what's on the other side of it. If you've ever gone through, we'll go back to the dating process. Sometimes the dating process feels like a suffering and a death, right? Anybody? But eventually you get to the resurrection, which is the relationship you truly want, and you forget all about those 101 bad dates. And you focus on the relationship and the good that you have, right? Yes? This is yes? Okay. That is the consciousness that he is surrendering into. He is surrendering to the resurrection. He is surrendering past the smallness. He is surrendering past the dark night of the soul into what's beyond. We do this. Sometimes it takes that process to go through. Sometimes it seems like we lose everything. Reverend Barbara and I were comparing notes last night about some of our journeys, and where we used to be. Before I took ministerial school, I was happily married with a great credit rating, a good job, and all this stuff. And after I got through ministerial school, I was divorced with a lousy credit rating, and etc. It's the journey. I've known people who've gone through ministerial school and had to deal with cancer in the middle of ministerial school and put it on hold for, a couple of years before they can come back and stuff like that. It's the journey. But on the other side of that journey is the ministry, is the resurrection, is the stepping into what you truly want. It wasn't pleasant, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm grateful to be where I am today. And the suffering and the death was irrelevant. So that's where Jesus is with this process. Where are you in your life with that process? The one thing I also want to say is that the thing that has caused us so much difficulty among Christianity, traditional Christianity, has been the glorification of the suffering and the death. If you walk into most Christian churches, there's a cross back there. When I was a Catholic kid walking into the Catholic schools, there was usually a guy on the cross. And depending on what culture you were in, there's some blood flowing too, and stuff. Because that was the emphasis. See, Paul was guilt-tripping the Romans when he said Jesus died for your sins. That's all he was doing, and that's where that comes from. Jesus never said, I came here to die for your sins. He never said that. He said, I came here that you might have life and have it more abundantly. He's about life. He's not about the death. So when we say that wonderful phrase in the Ukraine that I'm not going to even try, Christos voskres, something like that, Christ is risen, that is what we are celebrating today. That is what we are celebrating. That is what we are aiming for. And as we go through our lives, as we experience the challenges, we keep our consciousness pointed towards the Christ-risen consciousness, the resurrection consciousness, and it takes going to thy will, higher consciousness, not my way of doing things. My disciples, my way of doing stuff will fall away. We have to die to our old way of doing things in order to step up. Take a breath. It ain't always pretty and it ain't always easy, but it is always freeing and liberating. If we allow the process to take us through, to take us over, to move us through, we will be guided through that process. We don't have to make it happen. In fact, the making it happen is what doesn't work. Okay? We start to surrender to the process because life is affirming. Life isn't a conspiracy for our good. It isn't a conspiracy for the resurrection consciousness if we will let it take us there. But we have to get our, my favorite Emerson phrase, bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits in order to let that happen. And that is the death process. Because really what we're dying to is our bloated nothingness. And the degree of pain and suffering is the degree of our attachment to our old way of doing it. A friend of mine, Melissa Felipe, wrote a song called Kicking and Screaming Down the Path of Transformation. And some of us have done that. We got claw marks down the road as we're being transformed, and heel marks as we dig our heels in. Our degree of attachment is the degree of our pain and suffering. If we can detach from that, having to do it my way, this way, the right way, and start to say, thy will be done, that higher consciousness be done, I open to that and let that be, we will find the process easier. So what does this all mean to me? Number one, first, celebrate your first steps of manifestation. Celebrate when that stuff starts to show up. The little shoots. You've planted the seeds, and the little shoots show up. And we don't sit there and go, oh, that's just a little shoot. I wanted a full tree. Where's my tree? Dig that thing out. No, we celebrate it. We say, look, the first daffodil shoot is coming up. Remember that? In where I used to live, it's still happening. But here, I guess they were already blossomed and done. But anyways, so we celebrate those new beginnings. We celebrate that first start. Secondly, Ask the question, where am I in this process? Some of us are in the winter of our lives, the death experience. Some of us are in the spring of our lives, the celebration. Some of us are in the summer of our lives, and I don't mean the overall, and some of us are in the fall harvest of our lives, and some of us are in different seasons in different parts of our lives. Most of us are in different seasons in different parts of your life. Where am I in spring? Where is that in my soul? Where is that happening right now, and will I honor it? No, it's not the full-blown what it is that I want, but where will I honor it? Where will I start to see it? I was talking with a friend of mine the other day. Years ago, I wanted a Mazda Miata really badly, and I wanted one that was red with a tan leather interior. And at that time, they only made them with black interiors. But I was visualizing tan with, or red with tan leather interior. And the next year, they came out with a car called the Black and Tan. Black car had a tan leather interior. I'm sitting there going, breaking the microphone. I'm having a good history today for a sound guy. I'm sitting there going, yay! I will not do that again. And this one still works. I'm sitting there going, yay! I could order that car in red. And the next year they came out with it in red with a tan leather interior. I'm celebrating each little step of the way as it evolves in it. I planted the seeds and it starts to show up. So where are you with that? Thirdly, do I trust the process? Will you trust the process? Will you trust that spirit within you? Or does it have to be your way? Just take a check, take a breath, no right or wrong, just notice. Okay. And finally, am I willing to roll away the stone and be free? Am I really willing to roll away the stone and be free? Am I willing to stand with my Passover meal in hand, ready to run out the door and head down the road? Am I ready for my good? I'm going to close first with a poem from one of my favorite poets, David White. This is called Easter Morning in Wales, and then we'll close with a prayer. A garden inside me, unknown, secret, neglected for years, the layers of its soil deep and thick, trees in the corners with branching arms, and the tangled briars like broken nets. Sunrise through the misted orchard. Morning sun turns silver on the pointed twigs. I have woken from the sleep of ages, and I am not sure if I am really seeing or dreaming or simply astonished, walking towards sunrise, to have stumbled into the garden where the stone was rolled from the tomb of longing. That garden is within your soul. Are you willing to roll the stone from the tomb of your longing? Trust the Spirit. Trust the Passover process. Honor the new beginnings. Take a breath. Let us pray. So I know that there is one infinite presence that is always, always, always for our good, for its own good, because there is only that one life. That life cannot be against itself. And so that life is always life affirming. That life is always for the expression of higher, greater, and more life. That life is all that there is. There is nothing in opposition to it. There is nothing outside of it. There is nothing but that one infinite life. And so I recognize that I and each person here are already one of this life. There's nothing we have to do to make that happen, to earn it, to deserve it. There's no way we can cut ourselves off from it. There is only that one life, and we have to be one of it because it is infinite and there's nowhere else to be but within that life. And so we are already one with our good. We are already one with that Christ consciousness, that resurrection consciousness, that this is already the truth of us. We don't have to earn it or make it happen. It's already the truth. And so I speak my word that each of us today, to a greater degree, to the greatest degree possible, rolls back that stone, rolls back the tomb, lets go of our bloated nothingness, and it says yes, yea, and amen to that Christ consciousness, to that God consciousness, that infinite presence, that pure good that is looking to express through our lives in ways that are so far beyond how good we think we can stand it, that we would fall over in ecstatic ecstasy, bliss, if we could really see it and experience it. And so we say yes to that consciousness. We say yes to that good in our lives. We say yes specifically in whatever area of our life we most want to see that good showing up right now. We honor the beginnings of that good. We honor the first trickles, the first shoots that are showing up of that good. We honor the bunnies. We honor the eggs. We honor all that beginning. We say yes to it. Because all of that is Spirit at work. We set aside our old ways of doing things. And we simply say yes to the will of God. The will of that infinite, that is always for joy, for love, and for great good. And so in gratitude for the willingness to say yes, in gratitude for the good that moves through us and manifests out through us from that yes, and in gratitude for the Spirit within, behind, and as it all, I am just so absolutely, simply grateful, deeply grateful. For each person who is saying yes here today, I am grateful. And so we release the process into that law that knows exactly how to make it happen. We don't have to figure it out. We just simply say, let it be, and it is. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to breathe that in for just a moment. We all have moments in our lives, don't we, that come just once. It's a wonderful call to pay attention to that moment. You know, I've listened to athletes who are playing their first Super Bowl ever or walk into the Olympics for the first time, and they take the moment to just be aware of what it is. And so be aware. Each day, really, the truth is like that. You know, one of my mentors likes to say that each day is a brand new baby day. We get this brand new baby that we get to grow all through the day. So thank you very much. This is a wonderful opportunity, wonderful occasion. Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Yeah, you want to. I'm not going to go in depth in all this stuff, but you want to get the previous service talk or watch it on the thing. These two were over there sitting there going, "Oh my God, that was an amazing talk." So I guess I done good. This day is a day that is a confluence. I wanted to say collision, but that's not a good word. Confluence coming together of 4 different holidays. 4 different traditions are honoring sacred times during this time. So we have the Jewish people are honoring Passover. We're in the middle of the Passover festival, feast, commemoration. And the Passover honors the initial process of the Israelites leaving Egypt. And so it starts off with the Passover dinner, and it ends at the end of the week with them crossing through the Red Sea. And so that's one thing that's being honored today. The next thing that's being honored today is Easter itself. And as I said in the first service, Jesus is not the reason for the season for Easter. Take a breath. The fertility goddess Estra or Ishtar, out of all sorts of different traditions, earth traditions and ancient traditions, clear back to the Babylonians and the Assyrians, is actually the reason for the season. Because you'll notice that there's a lot of little eggs and chicks and new flowers and all that stuff. It's my favorite time of year because there's peeps, and I forgot to bring peeps. I was going to have peeps here. And I was fortunate, I went out to breakfast to, I'm going to call it the Great Hearth. There's a bakery down there on Churn Creek and near Cypress that served a peep as part of their breakfast today. So it's like I got my peep fix. I'm so glad. And it was yellow. It was the proper color. You know, there's all these sacrilegious colors that have come since then, but it's the sacred color of yellow. And so there's this fertility goddess that is in the new sprouts and the new spring and the new essence that is coming forward. This is what is being celebrated at this time. And then we have the reason that Jesus is for the season, which is Resurrection Sunday in the Christian tradition, which is the celebration of the resurrection, the putting off of the mortal body, the body that dies, the stepping through of death, just like the stepping out of winter, and moving into the resurrection or the spring or the new life, the new body. And again, this is not the full, just like Easter is not the celebration of the full harvest, Passover is not the celebration of arriving in the promised land. This is not the celebration of the full meal deal, which is when he ascends into heaven. That's the full ascension into oneness. Okay? So we're starting, he's got this new body or this new essence, this new consciousness, and he's just stepped out of the tomb with that consciousness. Okay? So again, it's a new beginning. And then finally today also, the beginning this evening in the Baha'i faith, is a festival called Ridvan, which is where their great prophet Baha'u'llah starts a 12-day process, and out of which he comes and moves into his prophecy. And so this, again, a new beginning. So we are celebrating today these new shoots. We've planted seeds, and now the first shoots are coming up. The first beginnings are coming up. And we in our Western culture tend to overlook that. We tend to get so focused on the goal we're going for, the finished product, the end result, that we forget to look at the first start. You know, you say, I want a new relationship in your life, and you get a date. It may not be the relationship. It's a date. It may go well, it may go badly, who knows? But, you know, it's like celebrate. Hey, I got my first date in 5 years, you know, or 25 years, or whatever, you know. You pray for some money. You want to have greater money, and you find a penny or a nickel or a dollar on the ground. And you can either sit there and go, oh, it's just a penny. Or you can start to celebrate, no, it's the trickle of the universe starting to flow. So today we're going to honor, in a process that we do with the flowers, we're going to honor those new starts, those new beginnings that are in our lives. Not the full end result, not the harvest that will come in the fall, not that, but the new beginnings. And so I'm going to invite you, we're going to do a guided meditation in a few minutes to start to bring you in touch with where in your life you're experiencing those first shoots that are coming up out of your life, okay? And so we're going to do a process. You have the flower that's going to embody what that is for you. Now, I don't know how you've done this in the past. I just kind of made this up, and Mary didn't say it was terrible, so I think it's all right to do. And so what I'm going to invite you to do is, during this guided meditation, we're going to take you into a place where, I'm going to take you into a place where you can start to identify where you have a new idea, a new beginning, a new shoot that is showing up in your life. And I'm going to invite you to come up with a word, a God word, if you will, a God quality to start to describe that. And then the ushers are going to bring you forward starting from the back there down the side aisles with your flower. And we're going to have the full ecclesiastical body, 4 of us ministers and Marilyn holding consciousness for all this process up here to receive you and bless you. And so what I invite you to do is bring that flower with that word to the minister of your choice. You know, and please, if you're coming down this aisle, please don't go to the one over here, okay? Even if she is your favorite minister. We're all kind of in touch with God to some degree or another, so. Right? Huh? Yeah. But to bring your word and to present it to them to be blessed and to be honored for that word. So you might have a word that my new beginning, my new shoot is love. My new shoot is wisdom. And so you would just simply come up to the practitioner, the minister, and just speak the word of wisdom or speak the word love. And they're going to give you just a very quick blessing. And then you're going to take that flower that symbolizes your love, this new beginning, this new shoot, and plant it into any one of these vases up here. And then return back up the center aisle. And we're going to have some wonderful music that's going on behind us. We're going to start with a little bit of quiet music that Chris is going to play for us behind the meditation. And so are the ushers, I don't see any ushers. Are they back there somewhere? Oh, there we are. Okay, they were sitting. All right. So in a minute we'll have you guys ready to go. So I invite you to take a deep breath. Let go of everything that came before this moment. Become aware of the flower that's in your hand. Become aware of the flower that's in your hand. And let it begin to embody this new energy and your energy. Let your energy and its energy connect. And ask your inner wisdom self to begin to show you, where have you just passed through a wintering experience in your life that you're now moving into a spring? That you're now moving into that new shoot energy. What is it that are seeds that you've already planted that are now beginning to just start to come to fruition in that beautiful, tender state? The first children, the first eggs, the first little chicks, the newborn lambs, newborn calves in your life. What is that? Where is that happening in your life? If it's not actually happening in your life, where would you be willing for it to happen in your life? And begin to be aware of that. And notice that there's a way that you can describe that as a single word, a God quality, a spiritual quality, a single word. Let your inner wisdom show you, express to you what that word is. And imagine that word flowing from your heart, from your soul, into the flower. You keep it within you, but you add it to the flower. You begin to let that flower symbolize what that word is for you. I'm going to call forth our ecclesiastical body, our wonderful ministers and practitioners that are here today. I'm going to invite you, with the guidance of the ushers, to begin to come down the sides and to take that word, share that word with one of us and be blessed with that and place your flower in that vase. And to stay in silence. When you finish that, stay in silence and just simply be with that process, be with that word. I see you as peace and know you as peace. Either way, sorry. Oh. You are love in form. I feel you as compassion and know you as compassion. Thank you. Healing. And so I know you're not as healing, but as already whole, perfect, and complete, and completely healed. And honor the whole process from beginning to end. Thank you. Right. Belief. And so I know you stand in that power of that belief and manifest and create that which you want. Ease and grace. So it is. So Carolyn, I see you as already whole, perfect, and free. And every little shoot and every little process to bring to the full expression of that is already in place and already growing. And it's the truth of you right now. So it is. So I see you in those new beginnings. I see that earth energy, that beginning energy vibrating and so alive and so joyous, moving all through every single aspect of your life. And so it is.
Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory. Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory. Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory. Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory. Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory. Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory. Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory. Blessed are heaven and earth, full of thy glory.
Thank you. Did you get a blessing? Did you three get a blessing? Mary? Barbara? And while we're at it, sound team, did you get a blessing? You good? Okay. I don't want anybody to go unblessed that wants to be blessed here. Just pick one of us. And turn me off, please. How you doing? Last Sunday we kind of noticed we were out of Kleenex and we thought maybe we better bring some for this service. I think we used some, right? If not, there's some in the chair underneath you. I want to say one more thing about this beginning shoot, new energy. It doesn't go in a straight line. The Israelites get out of across the Red Sea. They get out of Egypt. They get out of bondage. And what's the first thing they do? Whine and complain. We go back to old conscience. One of my favorite complaints ever that I've heard is in the story of the Exodus, and it is the people come to Moses and says, "What? Weren't there enough graves in Egypt that you had to lead us out here to die?" Okay, that's old consciousness kind of going back at you. Spring. Have you ever heard the phrase spring weather? Yeah. In Seattle and Portland, where I came from, it's like, we had the phrase, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. I don't know if this is California, so you just it's sunny all the time here, right? Right. So it's not that all of a sudden it just becomes spring and like that. Jesus resurrects. He gets his whole, this whole new beautiful body, and what happens? Half the people don't believe that he's, it's him. Really, you? Doubting Thomas is like the epitome of that. But there's always this little doubt that creeps up. And so just be aware that as you've been blessed and as you let these new seeds grow, there's a process that it takes, a settling down period that it takes as you move into the new consciousness, and just trust the process will guide you. Trust the process will get you there. See, spring has all this weather, and I've got friends on the East Coast who are still complaining, 2 days ago it was 70 degrees, now it's snowing again, and like that. But eventually the snow will go away, I think. It always has before. It probably will again. Eventually the Israelites get to the promised land. Eventually Jesus ascends into heaven. This process naturally unfolds, so trust the process. Don't beat yourself up. Be gentle with yourself in the process. Just the same way as with a brand new little baby puppy or a brand new shoot in your garden, you wouldn't sit there and beat it up and say, "You're not growing fast enough." You be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with your friends. I'm going to close with a poem from one of my favorite poets, David White. It's called Easter Morning in Wales. A garden inside me, unknown, secret, neglected for years, the layers of its soil deep and thick. Trees in the corners with branching arms, and the tangled briars like broken nets. Sounds like some of our consciousness, doesn't it? Or some aspects of our little consciousness. Sunrise through the misted orchard. Morning sun turns silver on the pointed twigs. I have woken from the sleep of ages, and I am not sure if I am really seeing or dreaming or simply astonished, walking towards sunrise, to have stumbled into the garden where the stone was rolled from the tomb of longing. I invite you this week to roll the stone from your tomb of longing. I invite you this week to pay attention to that which is trying to be birthed, that new energy that is trying to come through you, and to simply say yes. Are you with me? Yes. Yay. I like these guys. I want to thank the choir. You guys sound beautiful today. I want to thank Chris and Diana and Judy who created that beautiful background music. I kind of gave them a CD to work with, and they said, well, we can't do that whole CD over and over again, so we'll interweave a couple of our own songs for it, and it sounded beautiful. So thank you so much. I want to thank and honor our wonderful blessers who hold consciousness, not just today, but every single day for this church and for this community. Thank you so much. And I want to thank each of you for saying yes to your good, and for saying yes to this community, and for saying yes to that spirit that wants to grow within you. Thank you so much. Give yourselves. So let's move into prayer. Taking in a deep breath, I know that infinite presence, that infinite oneness, that beauty that we have celebrated today, this beauty that we see before us in the form of flowers is just a little teeny tiny sample of the infinite beauty and the infinite love and the infinite good that is the divine in expression throughout all of creation. That life, that one life, is all that there is. There is nothing outside of it. There is no shadow. There is nothing outside of the beautiful light of the divine. That we are that here and now. Because there is nowhere we could be that is outside of an infinite. And so we ourselves, therefore, must be that oneness, that one expression, that perfect love and wholeness and wisdom and grace and glory, that quality that you claimed. You already are that, or you could not have even spoken that word and claimed it. This is the truth of the Spirit operating within you. That seed was already planted in you at birth, way before birth, actually. And you are it. And so I speak my word that as today we have said yes to that seed being expressed, growing, shooting up in new ways in our lives, we have said yes. The universe says yes right back to us. And that we bless and we are a blessing in this world. That this is our true nature, and it unfolds with ease and grace. That the darkness is past. Whether it has been a painful darkness or a sacred darkness, it is past. And we step into the new light. We step into that new vibration of life and aliveness in our lives, and we allow ourselves to breathe that in, to be that in expression, to take that forward and manifest it and show up as that new life in every single place in our lives, right here, right now. We claim that. We say yes to the infinite. We say yes to God. We say yes to our good. We say yes to that new life that is calling within us in our heart of hearts, in our deepest core being. We say an absolute yes. And we let it be. And together we say, and so it is.